All right, let's get right into it. There's one question every single developer is asking right now. What's my code actually going to be worth in a couple of years? We're going to cut through all the hype and follow the money to find out what the market is telling us for 2026.
So first, let's just get a sense of the scale we're talking about. By 2026, the market for just learning to code is projected to hit $73.5 billion. That's a huge number. This isn't some niche hobby, you know? It's a massive global industry, and a number that big tells you one thing. The demand for these skills is absolutely through the roof. And it's not just about learning. The tools we use every day, the software, the platforms, the whole developer ecosystem, that's growing at a compound annual rate of over 23%. Now that isn't just slow and steady. That's an explosion. It signals this fundamental shift where companies are pouring billions into making their developers more powerful and productive.
So, when you put those two numbers together, what you're really looking at is a modern-day gold rush. Seriously. Programming skills aren't just a line item on your resume anymore. They're becoming high-value assets. Companies are starting to treat code like capital, and they are more than willing to pay a major premium for the people who can build it right.
Which of course brings us to the real question. In this massive, multi-billion-dollar arena, which specific skills, which languages, are going to be commanding the top-tier salaries? Let's break down the languages that are poised to pay the most in 2026.
When you look at this top tier, a really clear story starts to emerge. You've got Rust, where demand is just skyrocketing because, well, security and performance are basically non-negotiable now. You have Go, which has quietly become the absolute workhorse of the cloud. Python, of course, is getting supercharged by its deep roots in AI and machine learning. And then there's the one that might surprise some people, TypeScript, which has become mission-critical for building big, reliable apps.
Let's drill down for a second on a choice a lot of companies are making, Rust versus Go. It really comes down to what you're trying to build. Are you creating something so critical, so security-focused, that a single bug could be a disaster? You need the memory safety guarantees of Rust, no question. Or, are you building the plumbing for the cloud? You know, the thousands of microservices that need to be simple, fast, and run all at once. Well, that is Go's home turf.
Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. TypeScript on a top-tier list? Really? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And the reason can be summed up in two letters: AI. AI coding assistants like GitHub Copilot, they need structure to generate code you can actually trust. TypeScript provides the guardrails that make these AI tools not just useful, but like 10 times more effective. That's why big companies aren't just suggesting TypeScript anymore, they're mandating it.
But this raises a much bigger question, doesn't it? It's not just about a cool feature here or there. Why are these particular languages becoming so insanely valuable, while so many others are just kind of treading water? The answer isn't in the syntax. It's in the massive economic forces that are reshaping the entire tech industry. See, the value of a programming language in 2026 isn't going to be an accident. It's being deliberately shaped by three incredibly powerful, interconnected forces. And these forces are what determine whether a line of code is just a piece of logic or if it's true economic leverage.
And this is the core of it, right here. The three big drivers are AI synergy, cloud economics, and regulatory safety. If you can understand these three forces, you can understand the future value of code. So let's take a look at each one.
First up, AI synergy. You know, a lot of people were worried that AI copilots would replace developers, but it turns out the exact opposite is happening. They actually amplify the need for structured, safe languages. AI can write code fast, but it can also introduce really subtle bugs, which makes the memory safety of a language like Rust absolutely critical. And it needs the guardrails of TypeScript to produce anything reliable at scale.
Second, let's talk cloud economics. For years, the cloud bill just went up, and nobody really blinked. Well, that party's over. The CFO is now knocking on the door, demanding to know why the bill is so high. Suddenly, a language like Go or Rust that uses way less memory, less CPU, that's not just a cool technical choice. It's a financial decision that can save a company millions. Every nanosecond of wasted compute now has a dollar sign attached to it. And number 3 is regulatory safety. This one is the silent giant, the real game changer. With new laws popping up, like the EU's AI Act, things like security and reliability are no longer just nice features, they're becoming legal requirements. For high-risk software in finance or healthcare, you're going to have to prove your code is safe. And that makes a memory-safe language like Rust not just a good idea, but a tool for legal compliance.
Okay, so we know the drivers. We know what's pushing the market. How do you actually position yourself for this future?
It's definitely not about just picking one hot language and calling it a day. It's about building a strategic portfolio of skills. Let's walk through a framework for that. The most resilient and highest paid developers in 2026 are going to be the ones who think in layers. Think of it as a 3-layer value stack. First, you've got your core language. This is your deep expertise, your career identity. Then you've got your bridge languages, things like Python or SQL that lets you connect different systems and automate workflows. And finally, you have an emerging tool, something new you're playing with like Mojo or WebAssembly to stay ahead of the curve and make yourself stand out.
And this, right here, illustrates the new reality perfectly. The old definition of full stack is basically obsolete. In 2026, the most valuable engineers are going to be full-value stack developers. They're the ones who can orchestrate all these different tools, a core language, a bridge language, and emerging tech to deliver a complete business outcome from start to finish.
Which brings us to our final thought. The market is sending an unmistakable signal. The languages and skills that are going to be worth the most are the ones that give you and your company the most leverage. Leverage to build securely, leverage to operate efficiently, and leverage to ship product faster. Learning the tools is one thing, but learning how to create leverage, well, that's everything.